Hello there, people of the internet. This week we're going to be doing our first Stephen King, Gunslinger, the first of the Dark Tower series. So this is obviously fantasy, but it's sort of different. Usually fantasy has a sort of medieval, sort of European feel to it, but this is very much the Wild West. And our gunslinger has guns and it's not sword and shield. But there's definitely some magic to it, but the magic feels more paranormal than fantasy. It's universes colliding and honestly just a really bad acid trip. So this is definitely a different fantasy than anything you've read before. Stephen King has a really strong, really powerful, definite voice when he writes, and this novel is no different. Then the pacing is pretty damn slow. It's a short book, one of 7 for the whole series, and it takes its time to get anywhere. Most of the time we're just walking through the desert looking for somebody, chasing somebody, and it's slow. Sugar and Vinegar. The Sugar has to be this character. He is badass. He's gritty and real and a man. You can imagine him chewing tobacco and spitting in the dirt. And I love him. He just seems so real. He seems like somebody you might not want to walk into on the street, but somebody who could definitely be out there, and he really fits with this whole Wild West theme. He gives you the theme and the setting long before the world does. Then the Vinegar has to be the fight scenes. I had no idea what was going on here. There was a fight, people died, like the aftermath was pretty well described, but during the fight I didn't know who we were fighting, why, how many there were, where they're coming from, what exactly is the gunslinger doing with his guns. It was the most confusing, tedious bit to read because it just made no sense. People were alive, some crazy stuff happened for like a chapter that I could make no sense of, and then everybody was dead. That was the fight scene. No good. Would I recommend this book? Yes. It has to be 4 stars from me. Even though the pacing is kind of slow and the fight scenes weren't that good, this character, the gunslinger, has this immovable motivation. He is going to find that wizard. He is going to find the tower. And we know it from the first chapter and we know it till the last chapter. He's ready to sacrifice anything to get there. And that's what drives this story. And I will read until this man gets to the Dark Tower or he dies. I am so in this. Ride or die. That is why you should read this book. Gunslinger is not a book that's too flashy. It's powerful. And I think the short and sweet type of format that we have here, 7 short books instead of the usual fantasy bulky reads, really kind of adds to that. Not a lot happens in the first book, but everything that happens kind of gives you some meat to hold on to of what's to come. Whether just building this character of the gunslinger or building up the harshness of this world. It doesn't do so in big flashy things. It's one action, one time, and you know this is real. It's strong. So, the gunslinger is hunting this wizard. He walks through the desert, he finds some wanderers, he keeps walking through the desert, he finds a village, he chills out there for a while, he kills everybody in the village, and he's walking through the desert again. That's essentially what the plot does. Then he finds a boy, walks through the desert some more, then they found a mountain, they climb the mountain. You know, he's going somewhere. And I wouldn't say right now the plot is the strongest part. There are some bits of backstory about the gunslinger's life that are fascinating, that are kind of a plot that you can get your teeth into. But the main plot here itself, no, that's not what's holding you here. What's holding you here is the character. As I said before, the Gunslinger is a gritty, hardcore, Wild West badass. And he has one thing on his mind. And nothing will shift him from that goal. And as I said before, this book isn't flashy about depicting it. The Gunslinger's single-minded determination is depicted the best in this situation. So he meets a boy somewhere along his long road to the wizard, and he slowly starts to love this boy. He's a father to the boy helps him sometimes, and they are each other's only companion on a long, long empty road. And the fact that this boy is still alive starts to make the Gunslinger nervous. Along his journey so far, all of his companions have died. And this boy isn't dying. He's okay. And the Gunslinger knows that the tower requires sacrifice. So he's nervous. And he thinks to himself, I can't get attached to this kid. He's going to die. I can't get attached. And then after a while, I love this kid, but he's going to die. And he starts to prepare himself for that. And then when the time comes, the boy doesn't just die. The Gunslinger has to actively decide whether to choose the tower or whether to save the boy's life. And it's not even a difficult choice. He kills himself for it afterwards. He feels so guilty. Not guilty enough to ever feel sorry for it. He made this choice. He will do anything to get to that tower. He will kill people that he loves. He will leave them dangling, push them off a cliff. It does not matter. That tower is his, and he will get there no matter what stands in his way. And here again we can see that this is completely different than any other fantasy hero, which makes him unpredictable and which makes this motivation, the unwavering motivation, just so much more curious. Because we don't actually know yet why the hell the Gunslinger is so intent on the tower anyway. We don't know why he wants it. We know that he wants it, and that's the motivation. And any other hero would have said, let's save the boy's life first. We'll get another way to the tower, and it'll have been a bump on his road. It isn't a bump. The Gunslinger flattens the bump, the obstacle that was the boy's life. He does not care. He will get to the tower. And that's why you just can't not read the second book. Why the hell does the Gunslinger need the tower so badly? You need to stick with this man. This type of motivation, it grabs hold of you. And it's so charismatic in a way. It's like mob mentality, but driven by one man. That's what I'm saying when I say this is not flashy, but it is powerful. So, those were my thoughts on The Gunslinger. A bit of a shorter review this time. It is a short novel though. I will be back soon with the next one. As I said, I am going to be reading the next one because I need to know what the point of the tower is. The acid trip, the kind of notions that maybe worlds are colliding and our world and the Wild West magic world is in the same universe. It's just parallel dimensions. There's so much to this that I really need to know more. So, yeah. I hope some of you have read it. Please, no spoilers for the rest of the series. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.